Welcome back to another episode of Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports, presented by Rice Accounting and Jackson Hewitt Tax Services and Cottonwood Parks and Recreation, right here on Verde Valley TV and KVNA 104.7 FM. I'm your host, Philip Catafamo. We have got a great show in store for you this week. Later in the program, we'll be joined by Winslow baseball coach Art Griffith, who will break down his career and his short stint coaching the USA Olympic baseball program. We'll then be joined by Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young, who will talk about summer workouts for the Bears this offseason and youth football in Prescott Valley. But on the other side of this break, we'll be joined by Northland Prep Academy senior Natalie Hansen, who will talk about her time playing softball and volleyball for the Spartans and what her future plans for after graduation are. All of that and a whole lot more coming up right here on Off the Bench. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
a new set of tax rules and great weather here in Northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, Northern Arizona Prep Sports. I am joined now by Northland Prep Academy senior Natalie Hansen. Natalie, welcome onto the show.
Thanks for having me.
I do want to apologize for the slight delay that we do have currently with the interview. So Natalie's responses will be a little bit delayed. But regardless, Natalie, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. Congratulations on finishing your final year with the Spartans. I know it has been an absolute crazy and hectic year. Last year was obviously canceled because of COVID. And this year you do get an opportunity to play some softball. And we'll talk about your time not only on the softball field, but also on the hardwood for the volleyball team. But first and foremost, let's go all the way back. What got you started playing the sport of softball?
My family has been sports crazy for as long as I can remember. So I was playing, when I was like 4 or 5, I was playing micro soccer, and I loved it. It was really fun. And then I think when I hit 2nd grade was when I started playing softball, and my dad kind of pushed me into it. He was playing baseball, and his dad played baseball. So, baseball, softball has kind of just been in the family for a while. And I started with coach pitch and have just been playing ever since then. I loved it and just kept playing.
What made you choose Northland Prep Academy? I would assume it was probably due to location, just where you guys happen to live. Maybe you were close to the school. But as we all know, Basis Flagstaff is up there. Coconino High School, Flagstaff High School is there. What made you choose to stay with Northland Prep and not transfer to a larger school?
Yeah, so I originally, in my elementary school, I went to Montessori, which, if you don't know, is kind of also a small school. So my brother, when he's like 3 years older than me, he went to Montessori, and after he was in 5th grade, he went to NPA because they have a middle school there too. And I just kind of followed in his footsteps, just because NPA is also kind of a smaller school. Kind of felt familiar, it made sense to go where I felt comfortable. So
do you feel there's like maybe a stigma around going to a smaller school? I know myself, I went to a school that wasn't necessarily I'm from California, and I'm from Southern California, not like the beach area of Southern California. I'm in the real part of Southern California where there's really nothing. And I didn't necessarily go to a smaller school, but in terms of exposure, a lot of our players didn't get a chance to get seen by a lot of scouts unless they played on a club team. We'll talk about club sports. Of course, you did participate in club sports, but do you feel that there is a stigma about going to a smaller school? And maybe you can speak about the benefits of going to a little bit of a smaller school.
Yeah, I think the stigma is that like if you go to a smaller school, you're not going to get like the athletic competition that you get at a bigger school. Um, and also, I think there's like an academic thing. Like if you go to a small school, you're a nerd, you know. But I think NPA has such a wide variety of academic and athletic selection that it makes sense. And you know, you really build like a family within your grade and the grades around you. So that's really cool at NPA.
Yeah, and you talk about the athletic side. I mean, let's not forget the Northland Prep Academy girls soccer team has been basically the talk of the town in 2A for the longest time. 4-time champions. I've had Coach Blair on, and of course, your former teammate Mia has been on the show before as well. So yeah, you're right. There's definitely the athletic aspects to going to that smaller school, and in a lot of cases, maybe you do run into a powerhouse like Northland Prep Academy that when you get on that soccer team, you're kind of almost guaranteed a state title. And even the softball team has been region champs multiple times.
Yeah. And our track team is super competitive. There were a couple girls who won state this year. Our softball team, our program has definitely been developing. We've made it to the first round in state for the past 4 years, and we've just getting better over the years. So yeah, there's definitely, the competition is not really something to be worried about, I think, at a small school.
Natalie on the team plays third base and played a little bit of catcher for the Spartans early on. She primarily is the third baseman. So we'll kind of step away from the catcher questions, but I do want to ask, why'd you pick the hot corner?
I have just been there my whole life. I've kind of been like a utility. And then as I've gotten older, I guess my reflexes are good. So been put at third and put at first. And it's pretty similar to catching too. You know, you got to keep the ball from getting by you, body up, do anything you can to not let it get by you. So
what I always find fascinating about softball, and it's something you don't necessarily see too much in baseball, of course, you do have defensive shifts in baseball where you'll find your third baseman lined up where the second baseman is, and your second baseman is all the way in right field because the guy can pull the ball. But in softball, you have to accommodate for slap hitters. So if you know, you'll obviously have experienced this, but for those of you who have watched softball, you'll see a third baseman go almost in line directly with the pitcher because of slap hitters. And for me, as somebody who had his fair share of hot fastballs down the line playing third base as well, being that close to a softball coming at you pretty quickly is quite difficult. So I mean, how have you kind of just, like you said, you got a good glove. I mean, is there any kind of secret to playing third base for softball? You just got to kind of be ready for everything, right?
Yeah, it's a little intimidating being that close. And we bring our whole left side up for slappers. So our shortstop is like in front of the baseline. Our third base and our corners are up, even with the pitcher, like you said. And I don't really think there's a key. Mostly, I think you just got to watch the bat. You know, if they're bringing it down, they're going to be slapping. If they're staying still, they're probably just going to be hitting it. So you got to just be ready for it coming right at your face. So. Yeah, third base in softball is definitely a lot different than third base in baseball. But we are speaking with Northland Prep Academy senior Natalie Hansen. Natalie just finished up her senior year at Northland Prep Academy. She plays on the softball team as well as the volleyball team. We'll talk a little bit about your experience on the volleyball team in just a little bit. I do, again, want to apologize for the technical difficulty. There is a little bit of a delay between myself and Natalie, and I do apologize for that. But Natalie, you get a chance to play under Coach Betty Dean. We had Coach Dean on the show recently. She is an incredible woman. And I want to ask you about your experiences playing under her, and if there's any words of encouragement or advice that has stuck with you throughout your 4 years playing under Coach Dean. What has it been? Betty is awesome. I actually originally met her, I think she was a Little League coach a while back. So I've been familiar with her through my years of playing, and then as a 7th, 8th grader, I went to a lot of the high school open fields and got really familiar with her. And she focuses on the fundamentals, which I think is a key part of playing softball in general, and especially at like a small school where you need to focus more on the fundamentals. But yeah, her and Justin work really well together. They're great coaches. They're really focused about the bond between the team and the players, and just figuring out what works best for the team, the compatibility and everything. So, yeah.
Well, the compatibility, worked very well as the Spartans finished this year 13-1 overall, 8-0 in the 2A Central region. They won the region because of that as well. Also got a trip to the playoffs, went pretty far. Unfortunately, were knocked out in the quarterfinals, correct? The second round, or the third round of the playoffs. Northland Prep Academy was unfortunately knocked out. But still, Natalie, you get a chance to get back out on the softball field. 2020 was a lost season. Let's talk about the positives. How did it feel to get back out on the field and get to play your final senior year?
Yeah, so it was, like you said, this whole year was kind of a whirlwind. After last season getting cut short, it was a little bit of a bummer, a little bit of a letdown. We didn't know if we were going to get back onto the field, when we were going to get back onto the field. And obviously we had a really good team last year too. So it sucks that we weren't able to complete the season. But I think it also just kind of gave us more of a drive coming out for this season to pick up just right where we left off. We only brought up one freshman, so it's pretty much the same core team as it was last year. And our freshmen bonded really well with us. And yeah, it was really nice to just start picking up a ball, throwing it around, getting those cuts in. That was really nice. And especially with our big senior class, getting that final go around with them was super special.
Definitely pass off a bless you to the person who just sneezed twice for me. But Natalie, you not only played softball, you also were on the volleyball team. Just for 2 years, you played your sophomore and your senior year. You played on the volleyball team. We'll just talk about that experience in general and some of the benefits that are there for players who play two sports.
It's a lot of work to play two sports, especially if you're doing, the travel and everything with that. But I think at NPA, having it in 2 different seasons kind of gives you a little break in between. And softball and volleyball are very similar. You got the overhand motion for swinging a ball and throwing, and then also defensively, just got to get that ball up in volleyball and stop the ball from getting by you in softball. So very similar. Yeah.
Would you say communication is also kind of something that those two sports have in similarity as well? I mean, you play third base. You also played catcher. Catcher is the leader of the infield. They have to communicate to players, ball straight up in the air. Getting that, if there's a straight up fly ball, you tell the person where to go, where to move. Same thing with volleyball. When you're bumping a pass to another person or you're getting set up for a spike, there's a lot of communication with both sports. But why did you choose volleyball? And are there any other sports that you would have liked to have played?
I think I chose volleyball similar to why I chose softball. My dad kind of pushed me into it, but I'm also really competitive. So I just picked it up right away and was like, all right, I'm going to be good at this. So, and I really like the team aspect. I think it's funny because people don't really see softball as much of a team sport. And they see volleyball as like a team sport, but I think both have just as much components to being on a team: leadership, communication, like you said. All of that is super important in both sports. So I'm just glad that I've been sticking with both volleyball and softball over the years. It kind of makes me a better person, better leader, better communicator. So.
As a whole, is there anything specifically that you're going to miss about your time at Northland Prep Academy?
A lot. It's weird. We just had our last day of school on Friday, so it's been weird to kind of wrap up everything and not be busy anymore playing volleyball or softball. But I think I'll miss. At NPA, we just had such a huge family. All of our players were super close and everything. So I'll just miss the bond that we made and the family that we made.
Again, we are speaking with Northland Prep Academy senior Natalie Hansen. She's just wrapped up her final year at Northland Prep Academy with the Spartans, played on the softball team as well as the volleyball team. Natalie, one last question before we let you go. What are your plans for after school?
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out, but I'll be going to NAU in the fall. I'll be staying in the Honors College. And I don't know what I'm going to be studying yet. I just am interested in too much to just narrow it down to just one. So I have an exploratory major, and I'll just be taking a bunch of like prereqs, do some social sciences, liberal arts stuff like psychology and stuff. And we'll see. I might come back and help out coaching volleyball or softball at NPA. I might play on the NAU club teams, but we'll see what happens.
Well, good. From Spartan to future Lumberjack, Natalie Hansen of Northland Prep Academy, thank you very much for taking the time. Congratulations on not only this year, but your previous 3 years with Northland Prep Academy. I know last year was kind of a frustrating year, but you got a chance to finish out your senior year, a very successful season. And we here at Off the Bench wish you nothing but success. And thank you very much for taking the time, and best of luck at NAU.
Thank you.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk with Winslow baseball coach Art Griffith on Off the Bench. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Two things we can count on every year:
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt Tax Office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I am joined now by Winslow baseball coach Art Griffith. Coach Griffith is coming down to his final year, or actually I should say he finished his final year of coaching the program over at Winslow High School. So we wanted to bring him on. He has been a fixture in 3A baseball. He has been a fixture in Arizona baseball for decades, for a very, very long time. And we'll get a chance to speak with Coach Griffith. First and foremost, Coach, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to come on and talk with us. I know you guys are down in the White Mountains. You don't get a chance to play a whole lot of our 4A teams, but you did get a chance to play Mingus as well as Flagstaff this year, which are in the 4A Grand Canyon region. I do want to congratulate you as well for completing the 2021 season. I know with COVID and everything, it was going to be a really weird year. The spring season got canceled the year before, and this year was like, are we going to even be able to play? And we were able to play. Just quickly, the Winslow Bulldogs finished with a 12-6 overall record this year, 9-3 in the region. They won the 3A East region and were ranked 14th in 3A and got a trip to the playoffs. But Coach, thank you for coming on the show, and welcome to the program. Just a brief history before I let you talk a little bit. I know I'm keeping you kind of quiet here. You completed your schooling at ASU and NAU, which led you to the job at Winslow High School. You started as a volunteer coach. Let's start from the beginning, Coach. How did you get started with coaching, and what sparked that interest?
Well, I wanted to be a coach from the time I was a little kid, actually, and I grew up in Winslow. Coach Weatherton coached my older brother, Richard. He played at ASU National Championship team Coach Weatherton was a great mentor for me as a football coach and a baseball coach. And he would take me on the trips with his bat boy and get to ride on the bus with the big boys and all that kind of stuff. And basically all I ever wanted to do was be a teacher and a coach.
Well, you did get that opportunity. You did coach. You just wrapped up your coaching career. You wrapped up your teaching career a couple years ago. You retired in 2018 from teaching,
Right.
But still went on to continue coaching the program. Along with Coach Weatherton, who else has been a mentor in terms of for you coaching? Is there any outside coaches that maybe you haven't met directly, but you really respect their programs?
Well, there's a lot, but Coach Nasser was our football coach for 35 years, Hall of Fame coach, one of the first coaches in Arizona to get 200 victories. Played for him, won a state championship in my senior year, won a state championship under Coach Weatherton in my junior year, and got second our senior year. That was a tough one. We had a 29-game winning streak and ended up losing in the finals. But then I came back when I got hired at Winslow High School. I was doing my student teaching, and Coach Weatherton had severe case of he had arthritis for years, and he wasn't going to be able to continue coaching. And so he asked me when I was at NAU and finishing up in my degree and doing my student teaching if I'd just help him throw BP and being a volunteer assistant. And then he played in the state championship that year, got beat in the finals, and then turned the job over to me. 22 years old, head coach, green all over, wet behind the ears. A lot of my players were 18, so I was a young guy. But I threw BP every day forever, 52 years, and this is the first year I haven't thrown BP. My shoulder's just kind of done. So long history with Winslow High School, been around it forever, love teaching, was a social studies teacher, department head. I coached football for 26 years, baseball for 52 years, and so on. But just the community. I love the community, never really had any desire to go.
Yeah, no, very much so. And like you said, here we are 50 years later, and you're still just wrapped up coaching the program. And what an incredible feat to accomplish. I mean, you talk about coming in as a 22-year-old. What were some of those early challenges you had? Because these kids are seeing a guy, they're 18. Oh, he's 22. What is this guy going to tell me? He's just as old as I am. So what were some of those early challenges you faced when you first took over the program?
Well, it's funny, but I knew every one of the kids because during the summers I coached Little League in Babe Ruth.
Okay.
Growing, and then I played softball, I played men's league baseball, I was going all the time, but I had coached every single one of those kids, so they knew what to expect, and they knew that, as a 22-year-old, didn't put up with a lot of stuff, and we had a pretty good rapport.
Yeah, very much so. It seems as though you there was an article I read, and you said regarding just building a successful program, relying on your assistant coaches and sort of delegating responsibilities out. As a young coach, I can see some maybe in different situations, obviously maybe not yours, but in different situations with young coaches, they kind of want to do everything. They want to be the head coach, the assistant coach. They want to be the JV coach as well. They want to have full control of their program. But for you obviously are open to sort of having that dialogue with your assistant coaches and going, okay, maybe I don't know a whole lot about, let's say, third base, but I've got a guy an assistant coach who has played third base and knows the position and can get these kids going. Do you have any advice to any of those young coaches who may want to take on everything at once?
Well, the biggest thing I think is give them responsibility. If you trust them, you got to give them responsibility. But I have to clarify something. I coached by myself, literally 25 years. I was the only coach, a varsity coach. And when we hired Rich Hoyt, a great friend of mine, to be our head football coach, he had been a baseball coach at Williams, very successful football coach. And the only way he would come is if I would help him coach football and he helped me coach baseball. So I finally got an assistant coach. But I had a player of the year in 1978, Sean Smith, is a railroader here in Winslow, and he volunteered as my assistant coach for 21 years. One of the best outfield coaches ever and a hitting coach. And down through the years, I've had Jordan Payne right now as player of the year, played at Yavapai, played at Lewis and Clark, played the World Series, those kind of things. But he also is a volunteer. He's a detective on our police force. So all of my coaches were former players of mine. And so, we're on the same page. We know what we want. As we tell the kids on opening day, The only thing you can control is your hustle and your attitude. And if you hustle and you got a great attitude, then we'll find a spot.
How interesting, Coach, that you're seeing a lot of guys, and I believe even yourself, coming back to the school to coach at the same program that they, learned how to play the game and learned how to be in. I know it's kind of hard to speak on other people's behalf regarding why they came back, but do you have any idea as to why maybe these guys were attracted back to the position or back to the school at all? Is it just the area?
Well, I think they like the area, and I think they want to raise their families there. The railroad is our number one employer in Winslow, and it's a great job. It pays very well. Jordan came back, was going to go on the railroad, but then they cut off during COVID. They shut down the hiring process, and so he's back with the police force, and he's awesome. He helps coach football as well. He was an all-state quarterback, all-state point guard, great baseball player, played in numerous areas, and extremely talented, and they bring so much back to our program.
Getting back to your career, Coach, and again, we're speaking with Winslow High School baseball coach Art Griffith. Coach Griffith is retiring at the end of this year after 50-plus years of coaching the program at Winslow High School. You made many stops throughout your career, but one that really jumped out to me was you got an opportunity to coach with the USA Olympic baseball team, 16 and under team. Can we talk about that experience, and how did that experience come up, considering 3A school in northern Arizona? Where are they finding you at, Coach? Did you send out a letter or something?
Well, over the years, I worked very closely with clinics. We did a lot of summer things together. When we, as a baseball coaches association, started our association back in '95, Jerry Dawson, who's now at Yavapai as a pitching coach, was a longtime coach at Chaparral, Tom Succo, Gary Lefevers, myself, Ron DeVinny, who won the most valuable player in the College World Series for ASU, and so on. We pretty much founded the Arizona Baseball Coaches Association. And over the years, we've worked together, did clinics. We did a camp at Telluride every summer for 20 years. And so, just that feeling of being together and so on. But USA Baseball ran their tournaments in Phoenix, and they asked me to come down and be a scorekeeper to start with, and then a tower supervisor. And then I was an evaluator, and they finally asked me if I wanted to coach, and nobody's going to turn that down, No. So we went to Venezuela. Gary Lefevers was the head coach. I was an assistant. Gary Hatch out of Washington was another assistant. And then we had our Spanish-speaking coach, Norberto Lopez, out of Miami, Florida. And we ended up winning a gold medal. What a great experience. But I got to tell you, it was a period of time when Venezuela was going through a lot of turmoil, and Chavez was the dictator, basically, and they had death threats against our team. And got where we stayed, we took a different bus route every day to the park. When we got into the park, we couldn't go into the dugout unless a bomb-sniffing dog went first. And you've never played a baseball game when you have guys standing behind your dugout with M16s facing the crowd. And so our first practice, the kids went out, we're warming up, and they're looking up at the top of the stadium, and it's a big stadium. It's where they play their winter ball. And one of the kids says, "What are those guys doing on the stadium, Coach?" And I said, "Well, I think they're protecting us because they're up on top of the stadium with sniper rifles."
Oh my God.
We had all kinds of threats and everything, but a group of kids that pulled together, kind of amazing. Michael Givens is a closer for the Rockies. Max Stassi is with the Angels. And all, Bryce Harper, we had him in the trials the year before, and he was on the team the next year. And, got to work with Freddie Freeman and Bryce Harper and all these guys down through the years. And I was a trials coach for a couple of years before I got to be on the staff. And so what a great experience, and to get to see those guys.
Yeah, well, what an incredible experience. You get to see those guys before they become the superstars. Obviously, Matt Stassi, more of a veteran catcher. And of course, Michael Givens going from the Orioles to the Rockies. He's kind of bounced around a little bit, but in Bryce Harper and Freddie Freeman, that is incredible names to some guys to brush shoulders with before, of course, they went on to become professional baseball players. But man, the only time that I've ever felt a little uncomfortable on a baseball field was when I was in Little League and we had gophers would run across the field. I have never once had to deal with anything that you guys dealt with in Venezuela, but that is insane. What a crazy hostile environment.
Yeah, and we told our kids going in, all you can do is concentrate on the white ball. Focus on the white ball. That's it. When you get between the lines, let's play. We thoroughly dominated the competition. We beat Cuba. We beat Venezuela for the finals. And the second baseman for Venezuela was the best player on their team, happened to be a Jose Altuve.
Oh, my Lord.
And so, it's pretty neat. And even today, when as coaches, we go and watch somebody play, if we're able to get their attention, they'll come over, say hello, what a great experience it was, how much fun they had. And, it's just a learning experience. And to relate that to my team is that you too could get there if you work hard and have the necessary talent, obviously.
Right. No, very much so. And like we mentioned, a few names of guys that weren't Freddie Freeman and weren't Bryce Harper, guys who make that team. And like you said, really anybody could get an opportunity if they work hard enough. Again, we were speaking with Winslow High School baseball coach Art Griffith. Coach Griffith is wrapping up his final year at Winslow High School. Coach, I want to get back just kind of how you've seen the game of baseball change throughout your time coaching the sport. I know club sports is one. I spoke with Coach Kent Winslow of Prescott Baseball. He's retiring as well this year. And club sports was kind of the one thing that he said has been one of the bigger changes in high school sports since he started. I see you shaking your head. I'm sure you agree. Is there anything else that you've kind of seen sort of change the game since you started playing or better yet, started coaching?
Well, wood bats, obviously. We started out with wood bats. We went to the DH. We went to all these other things down through the years. It's still baseball. You still got to you got to hit it. You got to catch it and right way. And I think the biggest thing with club teams is we're a small town. And so a lot of our kids don't play club baseball. Now where Kent is, and I just saw Kent at a meeting yesterday and had a good visit with him. His son, Benny, played on our first Sunbelt team, was a good kid. And I helped coach that team and I had a lot of good rapport with Benny. But I think the biggest difference is that kids in the Valley and in Prescott, because everybody wants to go to the Cool Pines to play in the summertime. So you have that opportunity to build that teamwork with the club team. If our kids play, they've got to play on a team in Flagstaff or they got to go to Prescott or whatever. And we've had kids do that. But we're a small school and we rely on every kid. The best athletes in our school have to play more than one sport. And most of my kids play three. They play football, they wrestle, they play basketball, they play baseball. I even had a kid this year, a freshman, that was playing baseball and throwing a shot in discus.
Wow.
So,
okay.
We're equal opportunity. We want everybody to participate. I think the more sports you play, the better athlete you're going to be.
No, and I couldn't agree more. And even yourself, Coach, you're not just a baseball coach. You also coach football, and you were also a teacher. Can you just kind of briefly talk a little bit about just sort of the benefits of being on campus with those kids as you're coaching them?
Yeah, being a teacher for 49 years, I taught seniors for the last 30 years, every senior in our school. So, I had a pretty good handle on that, and I didn't put up with a lot of things in my classroom, and basically they knew what to expect. But I, supported every one of them. I co-announce football games now with our radio announcer, and you met Loy Englehart. I did work the table at basketball games because I still want to be involved. And now it's a little different. I'm not up there every day, but I still keep pretty good tabs on all my kids with the teachers and so on. But coaching and teaching go hand in hand. You're in the classroom, but seeing the kids in athletics is a chance to see them in a different venue. Right. A lot of kids they're not crazy about school, but they know they got to be eligible. They got to make the grades. No pass, no play was a wonderful thing. Being a coach, I look back at Title IX when they started girls athletics, and that's been a tremendous thing for our school and every school. We've had girls go play college basketball, run track, do all these other things. Don Petronovich, our girls basketball coach for a long time, was one of the most successful in the state of Arizona, obviously. Right. We have 12 coaches, and the 13th one's going in May, if we get to have in September, we get to have the ACA Hall of Fame. Susie Highsong and her husband Cranny are the only husband and wife duo that have coached in Winslow. So we'll have 13 coaches who have coached at one point in Winslow in the Hall of Fame.
Very cool. Coach, you yourself also am a Hall of Famer among other awards that you've received. In 2019, you were elected to the National High School Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame.
Right.
I believe you are one of 3 Winslow coaches to be in that Hall of Fame. You can correct me if I'm wrong there, but
the other 2 are in basketball and football.
Okay, so just Winslow coaches in general. Then that's what I have written down here. I don't know why I said baseball, but anyway, one of 3 Winslow coaches in general who are a part of that Hall of Fame. And first and foremost, Coach, I mean, what does something like that mean to you?
Well, obviously, it was a huge shock. I mean, I'm a small school coach, and just very fortunate to be put into that group. I have a lot of friends that are in that group. I was the president of the National Baseball Coaches Association in 2015, and so I've served on the board of directors for them. I've been involved with the Arizona Baseball Coaches Association forever. We have our own Hall of Fame. Kent Winslow's a member. I'm a member. Lefevers and so on. We're just going to put in this year Don Banowitz, longtime coach at Carl Hayden High School. So, we continue to honor people and so on, and to be honored by your peers. There's nothing better, obviously.
Yes, very much so. Well, congratulations, Coach, on that honor. Very, very well deserved. A long tenure at Winslow High School. Unfortunately, you and I got to meet this one time this past year, and it was great to meet you and get a chance to hear your story and hear how long you've been with the school. Before we let you go, Coach, I got 2 more questions for you. First and foremost, Chris Garrett has been named as your as your replacement. And funny enough, Coach Garrett, also a former Winslow baseball coach. So continuing that trend of former players coming in and starting as assistants and then taking over for the head honcho. But, what is Coach Garrett inheriting, and what does he bring to the table for this program?
Well, he's got a good nucleus of kids coming back. He's got 9 lettermen coming back. Really good junior class, some really good athletes. We've got a center fielder, Jace Lyons, going to be a really good player. I think he's got a chance to move up the line. Coach Garrett calls him Fur because his grandmother called him Christopher, and so everybody calls him Fur. But he is enthusiastic, hardworking, has a great rapport with the kids, and he has some good nucleus of kids coming back. We lost 200 kids in our school this past year because of COVID, and so Native American. We don't get a lot of Native Americans playing baseball, so that's one of his goals, is to see if we can't get more kids involved. He's involved in the Little League program. He has 3 little kids of his own, and I know he's going to do a great job.
Yeah, and that's great. Got to get, of course, like you said, getting more players out. Of course, it should be a little bit easier this offseason. We're hoping with the vaccine going around and whatnot. But, Coach, last question. What are your plans for retirement? Are we going to see you hanging around Winslow? Are you going to be coaching?
No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not a big traveler. I love to hunt. I love to fish. I'll be out in the woods and doing whatever, but I'll stick around. And as long as the school needs some help here and there, I'll help them. But I'll be a Bulldog supporter forever.
Maybe take a trip behind the mic a little bit more, Coach?
Yeah, well, you never know.
Well,
somebody's foolish enough to let me talk.
Well, you see, you and Loy have a good and Loy's another great guy.
He is.
But I got a chance to speak with Loy as well.
By the way, he was inducted last year into the Broadcasters Hall of Fame in Arizona. As
he should be. He's also, just like you, was with the high school for a very, very long time.
Yeah, 1978.
1970, exactly. It has been a quite a long trek for both of you being a part of this program. Right. And unfortunately, yours does come to an end, but Loy will still be calling Winslow baseball and sports just in general for a couple more years. And congratulations, Loy, if you happen to be watching. It's great to meet you as well. But Coach Griffith, I want to thank you very much for coming on the program. Congratulations on finishing a very successful career at Winslow High School and finishing a very nightmarish 2021 year. I know it didn't end with a state title, but just the fact that you guys got the season concluded is an accomplishment all on its own. And thank you very much for taking the time.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thank you. And I appreciate what you guys do.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Of course, anytime, Coach. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Bradshaw Mountain football coach Bob Young on the other side. Stay with us off the bench. We'll be right back.
new things we can count on every year.
A new set of tax rules and great weather here in northern Arizona.
Jackson Hewitt Tax Service, locally owned and operated by Lewis Rice since 1997, is here for you all year long.
Your neighborhood Jackson Hewitt tax office will help you in all of your taxing situations.
Electronic filing is always free with your tax preparation at Jackson Hewitt Tax Service.
Get more in return. Call 1-800-234-1040 for an office near you.
Welcome back to Off the Bench. I am Philip Catafamo, and I am joined by a familiar face of the program, though it has been a while since we've seen the newly mustached head coach here, Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. Coach Young, welcome back onto the program.
Well, you know, that mask I had to wear this whole year to kind of put, you couldn't see any of the rest of my face. So there you go.
For those of you who are listening to us on radio, Coach Young's got a solid blonde stash going right now, and we're all looking forward to seeing it during football season when we get a chance to see the Marauders and the Bears match up. But as I mentioned, this is Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young, a true legend in the Verde Valley and Yavapai County when it comes to football. Coach, your first year at Bradshaw is complete. How did you like being a Bear for the first time ever?
It was different. We went from literally, despising the Bears, and, they were one of our big arch rivals, them and Flag High, obviously, to, getting an appreciation. We always respected Bradshaw. They always had tough, hard-nosed teams, well coached and all that. And, now that I'm over on the other side of the hill, I see that in them. And, it was an interesting first year with COVID and everything, but we got to finish it off. We had graduation last week, and we're ready to move on from there.
Well, Coach, I should issue out a congratulations first and foremost on finishing the fall season, which had so much surrounding it regarding COVID. You obviously came to the high school a little later. Of course, the unfortunate passing of Coach Chuck Moeller kind of opened the door for you to come in and step in at Bradshaw Mountain. But Coach, you talk about, you hating, you used to hate Bradshaw as a Mingus Marauder. Of course, Coach Young, as he said, he's got a lot of respect for the program and the school, of course. Would you say it's kind of like going from the Red Sox to the Yankees, Coach?
Absolutely. And there's guys that have actually done that and, and made that transition, but absolutely you can say that. And, or it'd be like somebody transferring from ASU to U of A. And, you just, there's that hate relationship, but you got a lot of respect for them.
Of course. And then Coach, just real quick, this will be the last time we talk about the disparities between the two schools, but obviously you got a chance to come back to the Cave at Mingus Union High School for the Bears matchup against the Marauders during the football season. We talked before that matchup. I didn't get a chance to get your thoughts afterwards. It was a victory for the Bears, a good victory for the Bears in that game against the Marauders. So just kind of briefly, Coach, just before we really get into the interview, I mean, how did it feel to get back out on the field at the Cave? And I mean, how did you feel afterwards?
It was surreal. Coach Dixon and myself both, we'd spent 30 plus years at Mingus. And, when you've been there so long, you have a lot invested in it. And it was just weird being on the visitor sideline because, we're so used to being on the other side. And our kids, they took it as a challenge. They weren't going to let Mingus beat us. So that was something. That was one of our best games of the year. And, it was the fun going over there and playing. I look forward to doing that every other year.
Yeah, well, we're definitely looking forward to it. I think this year Mingus will be traveling to Bradshaw, so unfortunately we'll have to the 2.0 return of Coach Bob Young will have to wait till probably next season. But Coach, we're in the off season now. Football season's done, baseball season's done. I know you helped out the Bears baseball team as an assistant coach this year. But I want to ask you guys hosted a youth camp earlier this month for kids who are 16 to 14, so your prime youth ages. How was the turnout, and what did the camp consist of?
Well, actually, it was K through 8. So it was little kids all the way through 8th graders. And, we decided as soon as we could and as soon as the district allowed us to do something, we wanted to put on a camp because so many of these kids, they didn't have a season last year, whether it be, Little League got cut short and, basketball and football and stuff like that. So we wanted to do that. We wanted to put our stamp and let these kids know that, what to expect when they get to Bradshaw. And, so we decided to do it right before school year ends. Normally I'll put one on in July, and we're going to have another one in July. And, we had no idea what kind of turnout. We wound up, the three night, I think our biggest night, we had 122 kids there, and which, I was shocked, that we had that many kids, at that point in time, but it was a great turnout. We had 40 incoming freshmen. That was another thing. We really tried to push the 8th graders that were going to be freshmen, had 40 of them show up. And, it was a great turnout. And I think the kids had a lot of fun, it looked like, for the 3 days. And it was well received in the community.
Yeah, and that's great. Coach, you talk about, the incoming freshmen. Obviously, this youth camp, the idea, of course, is that these kids, if they play youth football, they'll play for the Prescott Valley Hitmen. And then when they're done with middle school, they'll go to high school and play for you at Bradshaw Mountain High School. And Prescott Valley has had a very strong youth football program for a very, very long time. And now, you're not, I would say, directly involved with the program, but of course, these are going to be some kids you could see up in the future. So I want to ask about that transition, Coach, how important, obviously you get a couple instances where a kid plays football for the first year and picks up the sport very well. But for the most part, you're usually getting kids who are, they have previous experience in the sport. So how important is that youth football, that setting that groundwork at the youth football level before they get up to even the middle school or the high school level?
Well, it builds your base. And it's not, there's a lot of kids that don't play a lot of football till they get to high school. But, if you have a core group of kids that have some base and fundamentals, makes a huge difference. And I know, for years, people used to ask us, what was our secret to success in Mingus, is because Cottonwood had such a really strong youth program. Those kids went to middle school back then. The Cottonwood Middle School had great football going on, and those kids just came in and they were ready to go, and they were well coached. And I think we're lucky enough in Prescott Valley. You said the Hitmen, they've got a great program, and there's also, actually we've got another program, the Youth Bears. So we've actually got 2 feeder teams that feed into the high school. So, we've got a lot of kids, in the Prescott Valley area that are playing football, and it's exciting.
Wow. 2 feeder programs for you, Coach. You got a lot to pick from in the coming years, seeing a lot of those kids going out to your summer camps and going, hey, Coach Young, you remember 3 or 4 years ago, I was here at the youth camp and I'm going to be an upcoming freshman. It's a lot of fun, Coach. But the high school guys, they also get a benefit from these youth camps. We were talking a little bit before we started that some of the high school guys did get a chance. And you said all of them got a chance to participate in the youth camps as well. How important is it for those guys to get not only an opportunity to coach, but maybe even, relive the glory days of youth sports?
And one of the things that we started to do at Mingus years ago when we started these camps, the coaches organized, and we let the players coach the kids, and the kids just love the high school players. We give them their jerseys, so they're out there with their game jerseys on, and the high school kids have as much fun as the little kids. They do. They have a blast, and our guys just did an absolute fantastic job working with the kids. They were engaged. They were always, and it was just trying to keep them moving around and having fun and trying to teach them fundamentals here and there. And and we had probably 50 high school kids working the camp for 3 days, and they did a fantastic job.
Coach, you talk about engagement. There's, I don't want to put a specific reasoning to it, but there might be in certain situations or circumstances, some coaches may have a tough time keeping kids engaged in the sport of football or just sports in general, because there's a worry of concussions. There's obviously the appeal of social media. There are other going into college and stuff like that, or maybe they want to focus on academics. So I want to ask you as a coach, you can answer it from a youth level or even from a high school level, Coach, but how do you keep kids engaged in the sport of football?
Well, they have to have fun, number one. And, it's hard to mix that in when, you want them lifting weights and you want to have 3-hour practices, and the practices have to be hard. But, at the end of the day, they started playing football when they were little kids because it was fun. And they went out in the playground and it was fun, and it's got to continue. If they're not having fun, they'll find something else to do. That's how kids are, whether they're, elementary school or high school age kids. And, I think the other thing, and, once they get to high school, there's so many different, some kids have to have jobs and they all want to have cars, and they just have to learn to find that balance. And again, it just comes back to, football has to be fun for them. And that's what we try to do all the time on a daily basis.
Again, we are speaking with Bradshaw Mountain High School football coach Bob Young. Coach, now kind of let's focus just on the high school team here. This week's you kicked off your summer practices. How are those first couple days of practice? Obviously you kind of coming into the program a little bit later with, like I mentioned, the unfortunate circumstance of Coach Mueller passing away. You were initially supposed to be the defensive coordinator at Camp Verde High School. This opening comes about. So you kind of, when putting these questions together, I was going to mention COVID, but then my producer Ryan was like, no, well, hang on. He's not a COVID coach. He came in later because of other things. He's the one coach that wasn't affected by COVID. But, in your second year now, Coach, your first full off season with this team, I mean, how much are these summer practices going to benefit these guys going into next season?
Huge, because, we didn't have an off season last year. We literally couldn't get in the weight room till the middle of September last year. And then it was like 10 kids at a time. So, that we knew that this off season, after Christmas break, when things started to open up, it was huge for us to get in the weight room. We had 2 weeks of spring practice before school ended. And, this morning, actually, we started our summer program. We're going every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. And, that's going to be pretty much all summer, except for a couple of weeks in July. Actually, over this weekend, we went to our first passing league tournament. We went to River Valley. And so, we're going to be rolling. We're going to be doing that the whole month of June. Take a couple of weeks off in July and then get back after it in July. So it's going to be huge for us.
Coach, some of the other things that are going to be popping up during the summer, 7-on-7s, Cali Camp as well. 7-on-7, Coach, just kind of, can we talk a little bit about the benefits of that camp? And then we'll talk a little bit more about Cali Camp.
Absolutely. And, that was always a running joke for years at Mingus because we hardly ever threw the ball in the regular season. I told everybody, well, we do all of our throwing in 7-on-7 in June. So that's when those guys, the receivers, can have all their fun. And, when real football starts, they better be able to block because that's what they do. But, 7-on-7 is great because, you do get to put in your timing with your quarterback and your receivers. And, defensively, it's invaluable. I know Coach Dixon and the defensive staff, just the coverages and the looks that we get and, the team bonding, the camaraderie, the competition. I mean, we love to compete. It's one thing to go out and practice all summer, but, when you get to go out and compete against other schools, even if it's one-hand touch, guys get, and you see who wants to compete and who doesn't. So, it's for us, it's been invaluable for a long time.
Coach, you talk about some of those summer, the competitions within the summer. I mean, I know one focus is obviously on the conditioning. You want to get these guys ready for the season. So that's one component of these summer workouts. But position battles are another one that is very prominent in the summertime when you've got a wide receiver who might be challenged by a newer wide receiver, or you might have an older kid wanting to get time at running back. So he's got to compete with a junior or a sophomore. So I want to ask, are you seeing any position battles going on, Coach, or is the focus right now just on conditioning? And we'll focus on the other stuff later?
Well, our focus always in the summer, number one, is on getting stronger. So, I mean, the weight room's huge, and we try to get faster and quicker. So we do a lot of that stuff, conditioning. But, we're fortunate this year, honestly, offense and defense, we've got 10 starters coming back both sides of the ball. And I don't think I've ever, in all my years coaching, I've never had 10 guys. So
2 youth programs and a bunch of guys coming back, huh, Coach? You're absolutely spoiled at Bradshaw.
Well, it just so happens that, but so there's not a whole lot of positions open now. Obviously, some of those guys could lose their jobs, and we have some really good backups, and that's kind of guys are kind of jockeying around to get playing time, and that's a good problem to have because there's a lot of years. And I've had a lot of years going into the summer where I didn't know who our quarterback was going to be, and they were duking it out all 7-on-7. Now we've kind of got it established, and the backups are trying to fight to see who's going to be the backup. So, but it's definitely something, and the kids know if they miss practice, the next day they show up, they're not starting. They're not first string. So, I mean, that gets them here, and, it keeps them from being complacent.
Cali Camp coach, I want to let you just kind of give the update on where Cali Camp is right now. Do you know what teams might be playing against? Where are we at with Cali Camp today?
Yeah, well, as of now, we're still at Thousand Oaks, and that hasn't the state of California hasn't officially okayed, but the company we're going through is confident that that's going to get worked out. By July, we're supposed to leave July 15th. And the last I'd heard, I believe Westview out of Phoenix, I think Greenway and Canyon View were going to be at camp with us.
Okay.
All right. So we're working on that, and the kids are excited because Bradshaw hasn't been to California camp, I believe, in 4 years. None of these kids have been.
Okay.
So, Bradshaw used to always go the week before we went at Mingus. So, we never saw them at camp. That probably wouldn't have worked out. Us and Bradshaw back in the day, we didn't do 7-on-7 because it always ended up in fights. So that was, so we didn't want to go to camp with them either.
No.
But that's, as of now, that's the situation. And, we're looking forward to it, obviously.
Coach, before I let you go, I got one more question before we head into the regular season. Obviously, I'm just going to give an example here. Mingus got a new upgraded weight room. Is Bradshaw potentially looking to do something like that? Are you guys looking for some more sponsors? Are you guys looking for some more booster club money? Anything in the future you guys want to try to get accomplished that anybody listening who can help out with that might be able to hit you up?
Well, we never turn down weight equipment. I'm used to the old grimy weight rooms, and I don't need all that new fancy stuff. We just need some barbell and weights. But honestly, what we're really right now, our number one priority is we want to get a new scoreboard. We want to get a new updated. Our scoreboard last year against Prescott took a dump on us, and the clock didn't work. And so, we want to try to update and get a scoreboard like Prescott. So that's what we're working on. So, people that have money, that would be the way to go. But, like I said, we wouldn't turn down new weight equipment, but, our weight room, actually, we've got 2 weight rooms, and they both function rather well for what we're doing.
2 weight rooms, 2 youth programs, 10 returners, and Coach Bob Young has got it set up at Bradshaw Mountain High School. Coach, I want to thank you very much for coming on. And as he mentioned, if you can help them out with getting a new weight room, if you want to donate to the program, either contact Coach Young directly or go through the school, which would probably be the best way to get something like that going. So contact Bradshaw Mountain High School if you want to help out with the football program, if you happen to have the resources for that. But Coach Young, thank you very much for coming on. I look forward to talking with you when we get closer to football season, and I cannot wait to take that trip over to Prescott Valley to see the Bears and the Marauders duke it out again.
We're excited. It'll be here before you know it.
It very much will be. Matt Showalter would call him Bradshaw Bob, but we'll call him Coach Bob Young of Bradshaw Mountain High School. I want to thank Coach Young for coming on the show. I also want to thank Northland Prep Academy senior Natalie Hansen, and of course, Winslow baseball coach Art Griffith, all of them for coming on the show this week. We have got a lot more exciting interviews coming up next week, including former Marauder and former player of Coach Bob Young, Tony Vaca, will take a step onto the program and talk about his time with Coach Bob Young and where he's at now. So that's coming up, and a lot more right here on Off the Bench. I'm Philip Katafama, wishing you a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.